Was it really an accident that a woman whose family kept bees for generations truly didn't know of the dangers of feeding an infant regular honey, let alone honey from a toxic flower? Really? Excuse me, but this mystery, one of Apothecary Diaries' darkest yet, in my opinion, has thrown me for a loop. Why delay the release of this review? Probably because I've been second-guessing myself and reading and rereading the source material, poring over every minute detail of the 5 light novel chapters and the 4 manga chapters that cover the events in episode 10 and 11. I even went back to rewatch these episodes a few times just to make sure I didn't miss any details and that I didn't end up sounding like a lunatic when I air out my wild theories and accusations, because, excuse me, I don't think the royal child's death was accidental in the least. Now, full disclosure, I am an anime-only enjoyer, so light novel readers and manga readers, don't at me with your damn spoilers unless I'm way off base, okay? But I don't think it was an accident, especially because these 2 episodes really do delve into the show's main themes of love and loss, and even sacrifice. Plunging into the climatic finale of the first volume, the intricate web of Apothecary Diaries unfurls even further in episodes 10 and 11, with compelling revelations and even heart-wrenching twists that show the extent to which some people would go for the sake of someone they love. Following the revelation that the drowned woman was responsible for poisoning Concubine Lishu's food in episode 6, speculation grows around Concubine Ah-Duo, particularly since the woman was revealed to have worked in her palace. It is also disclosed that Concubine Ah-Duo is set to lose her upper concubine title to a younger woman, and we delve briefly into Ah-Duo's long-standing relationship with the Emperor and the tragic death of her only son. Meanwhile, Jinshi sends Mao Mao to assist Ah-Duo without specific instructions, for some mysterious reason of his own. After completing her temp work, Mao Mao reports back with her observations and deductions. To reward her, Jinshi playfully pranks Mao Mao with honey, triggering a realization that ties together recent events, including the servant's suicide, Lishu's allergies, specifically to honey, and her curious behavior when Mao Mao saw her at the Garnet Pavilion. Delving into the matter, Mao Mao questions Lishu about her allergies and has Gaoshun check past records, which reveal the surprising circumstances that surround the Emperor's deceased son with Ah-Duo, a baby who was delivered by none other than her father. Mao Mao confronts Feng Ming about giving poisonous honey to Ah-Duo's son, leading to his accidental death and the subsequent cover-up that resulted in Mao Mao's father's expulsion from the palace. Mao Mao reveals Feng Ming's loyalty to Ah-Duo seems to have driven her actions, including distancing Lishu from Ah-Duo despite their closeness, going so far as poisoning her during a garden party. Feng Ming's fate is sealed, however Mao Mao aids the attendant so that the truth about the cause of death of Ah-Duo's son would not be disclosed, and tries to preserve Ah-Duo's status without exposing the truth. However, the Emperor has already made his decision and Ah-Duo must leave the rear palace. After Feng Ming's execution, Mao Mao encounters Ah-Duo atop the wall where the suicidal servant jumped from, and later bumps into a drunken Jinshi, offering him some comfort as he seems to be distraught. The next day, Ah-Duo relinquishes her title before leaving the palace, which leaves Lishu in tears. Reflecting on the similar appearance between Ah-Duo and Jinshi, Mao Mao realizes that her father's expulsion might be linked to a potential baby swap at birth. Later, as Jinshi delves into Feng Ming's background and the palace is set to dismiss those tied to her family, he contemplates with a troubled expression the circumstances of Mao Mao's arrival. Once again, the anime closely follows the original source material. However, there are nuanced details that the anime omits, such as Lady Ah-Duo's deeper connection to the Emperor. Her mother served as his nurse, establishing them as milk siblings. Additionally, her family held minimal political influence, so the fact that she was able to cling for so long to her status as a primary consort without having given birth after her first child is very, very remarkable. Furthermore, the anime avoids going too dark by selectively avoiding references to characters taking their own lives. This episode marks the second occasion where it diverges from the original light novel in this regard. The first instance was when the courtesan was talking about that scoundrel who was playing with women's hearts. Turns out that this little girl's older sis took her own life because of it. As for Lady Fengming, both the anime and manga changed it to her being executed, whereas the light novel states that she took her own life after admitting to her crimes. While the anime maintains a lovely balance between intrigue, mystery, comedy, and tragedy, and chooses to avoid darker elements, the light novel provides a more realistic portrayal of the cutthroat and brutal nature of life in that era. One final detail, which is manga-only content, is that while cleaning at Ah-Duo's palace, Mao discovers a drowned woman's wooden shoe hidden in a corner of Fengming's room, providing an additional connection to the deceased attendant, evidence that ties her to the poisoning incident. Finally, check out the Volume 4 manga extras, which contain a small comic of what happened after the scene where Jinshi asks to hold Mao on the night before Ah-Duo left. He fell asleep, and his reaction to waking up with Mao in his arms was both charming and funny. Now, in these episodes, we revisit the poisoning attempt from episode 6, and the motivations behind it are finally laid out in the open. Now, during her investigations, Mao draws a shocking conclusion about the identity of Ah-Duo's child, which, if true, paints Fengming's actions as a truly tragic misunderstanding. Fengming believed she accidentally caused the death of her mistress's baby. However, Mao introduces a tantalizing theory of baby swapping, suggesting that Fengming mistakenly poisoned another child, that is, the son of the then emperor, rather than Ah-Duo's actual baby. This revelation shakes the assumed relationships within the series, particularly Jinshi's identity, which we had assumed up to this point was that he was the emperor's younger brother. It is absolutely bonkers to think he might actually be the crown prince, the emperor's son. While Mao initially dismisses this theory as outrageous, Jinshi's drunken and saddened state on the eve of Ah-Duo's departure, coupled with the striking resemblance between him and Ah-Duo, leaves us questioning the validity of her dismissal. Still, despite presenting intriguing possibilities, this theory is not without its holes. As I watched, I wondered about the circumstances of the infant swap. Who came up with the plan? Who executed? And who is aware of it? It seems improbable that the Emperor and Ah-Duo and Jinshi are unaware of this switch, given the striking resemblance between Jinshi and Ah-Duo. Considering the fact that Fengming was Ah-Duo's closest attendant, it also seems highly unlikely that she wouldn't have had any hand in the swap, so surely she must have also known. Yet there's so many things that still don't add up, because if Ah-Duo and Fengming both were in on the swap, then why did Fengming feel so guilty about accidentally killing her lady's baby if it wasn't her lady's baby after all? Can it be possible that Mao's confident assertions about Lady Fengming and her motives might have been absolutely off the mark? And here's where I get my crazy idea. An alternative explanation would suggest that the lady-in-waiting's role in this whole situation was actually darker than Mao perceived. All these questions that are still unanswered raise some sinister possibility that maybe she ensured the demise of the other child. It's malicious, but it kind of makes sense, and also explains why she refrained from attacking Mao with the cleaver because, well, yes, she was caught. But at least Mao didn't catch on to the darker truth and her biggest sin, that the death by honey was no accident. After all, her family had a beekeeping business for generations. Shouldn't the danger of honey to an infant have been common knowledge to them? Maybe Mao Mao gave her a convenient motive that would spare Lady Ah-Duo from being wrapped up with her and similarly punished. And this would explain why she didn't attack Mao Mao when our kitty cat, quote-unquote, exposed her. Again, it's also possible that I'm overanalyzing the situation. Perhaps it's best to await further revelations from the story, because there's still so many unanswered questions surrounding this proposed baby swap. Whatever the case, you can't argue with the fact that Feng Ming was very devoted to her lady and was willing to do so much for her sake. In fact, not just Feng Ming, but the other attendant that jumped into the moat. The light novel speaks of how Ah-Duo inspired so much devotion of her attendants and her servants that they were willing to go so far for her. And I honestly just love how these two episodes portray the profound and often misguided lengths that people go for the sake of their loved ones. Feng Ming's decision to turn herself in and the subsequent, and thankfully off-screen execution, showcase the somber consequence of her actions, yet it also sheds light on the complexities of loyalty, remorse, and what people are willing to do to protect those they care about. In the case of Feng Ming, she was willing to poison an innocent person whom Ah-Duo regarded with motherly fondness. And in the case of Ah-Duo, if Mao Mao was correct about the baby switching, then her desperate attempt to secure a better future for her son by switching him with the Empress's child showcase a mother's determination to ensure her child's best possible future, even if it means, among other things, relinquishing her maternal claims, foregoing the personal care only a mother can provide, and having to be content with seeing her child grow from a distance. Life for these women is not easy, and being able to be with those that one loves and cherishes is not a given at all. As we empathize with their struggles, it intensifies our support for Mao Mao, who is navigating this difficult life and making choices that will undoubtedly shape the future episodes. Best of luck, Mao Mao. Something tells me you are gonna need it, especially given the serious expression in Jinshi's face at the end of the episode. Something tells me that there's trouble up ahead. Find out what it is in the next episode's review. See you then!